Hi, everybody. This is Virginia Miller coming to you for the DeKalb County Library System. And I have another earring tutorial. And one of the things that I have gotten some comments on is that there are certain shapes that people don't really wear because it doesn't fit their face type. And I've had a couple of requests for something a little more angular. So I went back and looked at some different things that I've been looking at years ago because I usually wear mine round or a little more spirally and stuff. So I found one from years ago from Guide Central. And if you've never looked at anything, any crafts on Guide Central, there's tons of different things on there. But anyway, they had these earrings that are just rectangle in shape, and they're just drops. They're just drop earrings. They're with a self clasp. So you just slide these in your ear and fasten it, and it's all one piece. And that I really liked these because they're versatile. You can put whatever beads you want on there. On this one, I used some cloisonné beads, and I was going to use them for this tutorial, but I'm going to use cloisonné for the second pair of earrings that we're making. So for this one, I decided that I would use these porcelain. I had these really pretty oval shaped porcelain beads. And so I thought I would use those and some 6mm rondelle crystals to round it out on the sides to just kind of give it a little bit of a balance on each side. So I have some black 6mm crystals, crystal rondelles, and an 8x10. Is it 8 or 6? Well, anyway, a 10mm porcelain oval bead that I'm using for this. Really pretty. I haven't had a chance to use those. And those of you who get kits, I'll get some. And 20 gauge wire. When they did it, they used 22 gauge wire, but I thought that was rather thin. So I went with 20 gauge. You can go with 22 gauge if you're more comfortable with that, but I thought the 20 gauge was more sturdy. So that's what we're going to be using today. And this is one of those really simple ones that just consists of a piece of wire, 20 gauge, and whatever beads you want to use. So that's what we're doing today. That's the first one we're doing. And then the second one that we're going to do, I've been wanting to do this wrap for a while, and I just not done it. So I thought this would be a great chance to do a herringbone wrap. I can get a good picture of that up there. Here we go. You can see it. I'm trying to get it turned in the direction that you can actually see the wrap, the full wrap. Yeah, I'm getting glare. Hopefully it comes out on the video. But anyway, there's the wrap. And if I hold it against something else, a piece of paper maybe. I don't have anything on this table. Oh, here's something. Maybe that'll work. Can you see that? I can't see it now. Herringbone wrap. There we go. And I'm only doing 2 earrings because I'm also going to show you how to do a decorative hook. So we're going to do that. And these hooks are really neat because you can put any beads on there that you want. You can do it to match the earrings that you're making, and you can do that with anything. And basically what these beads do is just replace, if you use the kind of earrings that have the wire and the bead on it, the coil and bead, this just replaces the coil and bead for that type of ear wire. So that's what we're doing today. And this is really simple too. It takes 20 gauge wire for the ear wire part, and then and as the post for the wrap, and then the wrap is 24 gauge wire. You can use 26 gauge too, but that's a little thin. I use 24 gauge wire, and I'm using another oval shaped cloisonne bead because I thought that was just a pretty shape. And I always see people doing the herringbone wrap with a round bead. I thought I wanted to do something different. So I went with an oval cloisonne and 6mm cloisonne on my ear wire, bracketed by two 4mm bicone crystals. So let's start with the rectangle drop. And that's going to require, again, 20 gauge wire and 3 beads, any 3 beads that you choose to use. So let's get down here to the other camera and let's get going with that. So what we're going to need is our 20 gauge wire, and we just need about 6 inches of wire, and it depends again on how long you want your the drop to be on your earrings. I used 1.5 inches on each side, and my 3 beads took up about 7/8 of an inch across the bottom. So that will determine how much wire you use. So that's about 3 inches, 7/8, 7/8. So 5 inches, just about 4 3/4 inches. And then you need your loop and you need the little hook. So I just have enough and make sure I don't have too little. I gave myself 6 inches of wire. I'm going to end up cutting some off, but that's fine. And again, if you want to shorten this, make it a little more square instead of long, or not use as many beads on the bottom and make it a more narrow rectangle, that will determine how much wire you use. So anyway, for this one, with the 2 6mm rondelles and the 10mm porcelain bead, and the 1.5 inch drop on each side of my rectangle, I'm using 6 inches of 20mm or 20 gauge wire. Okay, so there we go. So let's get started with that. And the first thing that I need to do is take my ruler. Oh, you need a ruler, round nose pliers, square or chain nose pliers, and cutters to use for both of these projects that we're doing today. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is allow for the top of my, or the bottom of my bead. So I'm going to need about, I'm going to give myself 1 inch for the bottom and 1.5 inches for the sides, and one side has a loop. So I'm going to give myself 1.5, 2.5, and another 1/4 inch for my loop. So that's 1.5, 2.5, 2 3/4, and that's where I'm going to give myself a little bend. I have 6 inches, so I could just bend it at 3. Then I wouldn't have to worry about anything. So I'm going to give myself 3 inches. Let's just do that. I'm going to take my pliers. I can use the tip of my round nose, or I can use the tip of the square nose, either one. And I'm going to put a bend in it, like that. Then I'm going to thread my beads on. I think I timed myself when I did this. It took about like 3 minutes. This is such an easy project. You can basically make these and then wear them 15 minutes later. Go get dressed and wear them. Okay, so there we go. Got my beads on. And then I'm going to make another bend in my wire right beside my other bead. So there we go. And then you can determine how far you want to go up before you close it off. If I wanted to make a one that's more square, I'd go down here, but I want to match the earring that I have. So it's about 1.5 inches. Yes, 1.5. I'm going to put a bend in my wire. Go. So, and then I'm going to make a loop to go around here. So I don't need much for that. About 3/8 of an inch. So I'm going to clip off the top. A little bit that I need there for my loop. Hold on to that end so I don't have to worry about anything flying across the room. Check again. There we go. I think I could use a little bit less on there. Just a tiny bit because it looks like I have a little more than 3/8 of an inch. Yeah, okay, that looks good. I'm going to make my loop. I'm just going to slide my pliers and my wire down my pliers about 1/3 of the way down because I want it to be about the same size as the loop that I have on this one. I'm going to make sure the wire's not sticking out the back too much there. And I'm just going to rotate my pliers until I have a loop. There we go. Here's my loop. And then I'm going to put my pliers in. I'm just going to rotate it back so that my loop is kind of standing to attention. I'm going to close that back up because it will open. Close it back up, and there's my loop. Okay, and now my wire, this wire, is going to go through my loop. So what I want to do, make any adjustments to the way it's laying. And now the one thing that you want to remember is that you want to mirror the other earring. So this one's going to fasten on this side, and this one's going to fasten on the other side. So my loops are kind of bouncing against each other. So now what I want to do is make a little ledge here, just a little hook here so that it won't come back out of my loop. So I'm just going to put it in there. Check it out. Make sure everything looks hunky-dory. Yes. Then I'm going to clip this off until I just have about maybe 1/8 of an inch because I want to make this little catch there. It's kind of a little hook. So I'm going to clip that off. And again, I'm going to hold on to the tail here so it doesn't go flying. I'm going to take the tip of my pliers. I'm just going to make a little ledge. Just enough to keep it from coming out of my hook, my opening. That can be a little shorter, I think, but let me see here. Make sure this is nice and straight before I do anything else. And you can take your pliers, and if it looks like it's kind of bent any place, you can straighten that out. Make sure everything's laying the way you want. And there we have it. There's our earrings. Isn't that awesome? So easy. I'm gonna bend this one out a little bit more. It looks a little wider than the other one. There, that's more like it. There they are. Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Cute as they can be. Couldn't be simpler. Isn't that neat? So that's one pair. So let me move everything out of the way here, and let's get going with our second pair of earrings. A little herringbone wrap. I think this, you can see it a little better down here under this camera. There we go. I don't know if I'm doing it justice. Wish I had something to put it on. I'm looking around here, see if there's something I can put it on that would make it more visible. There we go. So there it is. Isn't that pretty? That really is pretty. So we're going to make that one next. And really, this one's easy too. It's not hard at all, and it's just a gorgeous piece. So what we need for that is both 20 gauge wire and 24 gauge wire, and I'm using copper for that one. Something a little bit different. I know I've been throwing a lot of copper at you for now, but it's just, that's why I wanted to do this one in silver to give you a little break. Okay, so what we need for this one is 20 gauge wire, 24 gauge wire, and beads, whatever beads you like. I'm using 8 by 10 inch, oh my nails, 8 by 10 inch oval cloisonne beads. That's beautiful. I love them. And a 6mm cloisonne, and I'm using 2 4mm bicones to decorate my ear wires. So that's what we need for that. For the 20 gauge wire, we're just using, for right now, for the bottom part of the earring, we're gonna use 20 gauge wire for the little post. And then, and what we need for that is about 2 inches. So we're going to cut off 2 inches of 20 gauge wire for the post that we're going to use to do our wrap on. Straighten down here. Okay, give myself 2 inches, and that's probably too much, but better safe. Sorry. Okay. So 2 inches of 20 gauge wire for my post. Okay. And then 24 gauge wire for my wrap. And for that, I'm giving myself 12 inches. Just to give you, that one is almost impossible to give you a specific amount because I'm using ovals. I've mostly seen this wrap done with round beads. So it depends on the size of your beads and the shape of your beads as far as how much wire you're going to need to go around the circumference of your beads. For me, for this particular one, I would make sure I had at least 1.5 to 2 inches to go all the way around one wrap around my bead. And I'm doing 4 wraps. So I'm giving myself the 2, 4, 6, 8 inches plus an additional 2 to 4 inches. So I'm going to give myself 12 just to be safe. And if I need to cut some off, I will just cut it off. Because I just, if you get to the end of it and you don't have enough, then you're going to waste all of that wire that you've already wrapped. So what's the point of shortchanging yourself when you can just give yourself a little more? Okay, so I've got my wire, I've got my 24 gauge. I'm not going to bother straightening this out because I'm about to wrap it around here anyway. And I've got my 2 inches for my post. And the first thing that I'm going to do is give myself a little ledge to put my bead on. Where are my beads? There we go. Okay, so the first thing I need is the bead that I'm going to be wrapping, and that's this nice 10 millimeter cloisonné oval bead. So the first thing I'm going to do is make a little ledge for my bead to slide down on so that it won't fall off. So I'm just going to take my pliers and just go right here to the tip of my wire and just put a bend in. So now I just have a little ledge. And my bead won't come off. The joy of working with cloisonné beads is that they're this design is decorated over a metal bead, and the inside of these beads is hollow, so getting that wire through there sometimes can be a challenge. Not much of a challenge, but sometimes it's surprising because you expect it to just go right through and it doesn't. So anyway, there's my bead on my wire. And so what I'm going to do is take my 24 gauge wire and make a little loop. Just a tiny loop, just enough to go over this post. So it can be very, very small. It doesn't have to be large at all. So I'm just going to make a little loop. Close that up. I just want it to be as tiny as I can get it. There we go. And then I'm going to take my pliers and make it just a tiny bit smaller. I just want it big enough so that it will go over the 20 gauge post that I'm using. The 24 gauge wire is very, very soft, so you can't manhandle it too much. Okay, then I'm going to slide my 24 gauge down on my post. There we go. And I'm going to bring my bead up a little bit, about halfway, and just leave that there. And I'm going to start my wrapping. So you want to hold onto your bead. And I'm holding the loop against the bottom of my bead. There's my loop. There's my bead. I'm just holding it in place. Okay. Then I'm going to bring my wire up. I'm just going to bend it around the side of my bead. And the first time is a little less easy, especially because I have to hold it up. Normally I would be doing it down here and then I wouldn't have to balance everything, but so I'm doing this on camera and trying to get you to see everything. I'm just going to fold that up the side of my bead like so. And I'm going to bring it around the front of my bead. And I have a pattern, so I want to make sure that I don't end up with my pattern off to the side. So that's another thing I have to be careful of. So I brought the wire up the side of my bead. Now I'm going to bring it around the front of my bead like that. And I'm going to wrap it all the way around and then bring the wire over to the opposite side. So there's one side with wire on it. And I'm going to take this over to the other side and take it down the side of that, the other side of my bead. And now I'm down where I started again. And I'm going across the post again, across the front of the post. And I'm wrapping all the way around until I get over to the other side. So there's one wrap. You can see that. There's one complete wrap. Then I'm going to bring my wire back behind the first wrap and down the side of my bead. And notice how I'm turning my bead as I wrap across the front of my post. Wrap it all the way around and then down the other side in the back behind the first wrap. Then across the post again at the top and wrap. So now I have 2 complete wraps. I'm going to do 2 more wraps. And now again, I'm going to take it down behind those first 2 wraps, across the front of my post, wrap it all the way around. Try to keep these wires nice and close on the top here. And then down the side of my bead again. And notice how I'm turning the bead to do my wrap. Wrap it around the front. And now I have 3 wraps. And then I'm going to bring the wire down behind those first 3 wraps. Wrap it around the front, down the side again, behind those first 3, and wrap it around the post. And there is my herringbone wrap. See if you can see that. There it is. All right. So now that I've got my wrap done, I'm just going to take this extra wire. See how much extra wire I had? What a waste. But that's enough so that I could do another one if I wanted to. And I'm going to measure and see how much I had left. So now what I'm going to do is take that extra wire and just wrap it around here twice. Just give myself a couple of wraps so it's nice and secure. Now I'm going to take my bead and push it, just carefully push it down to the bottom here where my little latch is. I have to turn that around because it's on the side. So I want that little latch to be pointing towards the back of my bead. There we go. And now I'm going to take my pliers and I'm going to push that under. So it doesn't catch on anything. Just push it down. There we go. Very nice, and there's my wrap. Push that down a little tighter. There we go. There we go. And now I'm going to cut off. Make sure they match. Look at that. There they are. Very pretty. Nice. So I'm going to cut off this excess wire here. And just push down that little tail so it doesn't stick up and snag anything. Yes. And now I'm ready to make my little loop on top. Now again, I used 2 inches. Obviously did not need that much. I've got a whole inch left, a little over an inch left, and all I need to do now is make my little loop for my ear wire. So now's the time to take a look, see if you need to neaten up any of your wires. Everything looks pretty good. Make sure it looks about the same as this one. I'd say so. Okay, and now I'm going to make a loop. So I'm going to take my wire, my post wire, I'm going to bend it back. The reason I do that is so that when I make my loop, it'll be right on top. I only need about 1/2 inch, 3/8 to 1/2 inch. And I'm just eyeballing it, but you can measure it. And snip that off, holding onto my tail so it doesn't fly away from me. And I'm going to take my pliers, slide it down about 1/3 of the way on my pliers, and make a loop. So I'm just going to rotate. Until I close up my loop. And there we go. I want my loop to be side to side, and it's not. So I'm just going to turn it in the direction that I want. And this is very malleable wire, so it's very easy to do. So there's my loop, and now I'm ready to make my fancy schmancy ear wires. So what I need for that, it depends on how long you like yours to be. And I've already made one, so I want them, excuse me, to be about the same size. I'm going to give myself 2 1/4, that's not the 20 gauge, about 2 1/4 inches of wire. It's probably going to be more than I need, but that's okay. If you're using silver wire or something expensive, you want to be a little more exact, but I'm just using this nice little copper wire. I can kind of guesstimate. My beads are taking up about a little less than 1/2 inch, about 3/8 of an inch, we'll say half. And loop's going to take another 3/4 of an inch or so, maybe an inch. So we're looking at 1 1/2. My loop's going to take about 1/4 of an inch. So I'm going to say I need about 2 inches of wire. So there we go. 2 inches. If I need to cut any off, I can cut some off. No big deal. Won't be much, that's for sure. So the first thing I'm going to do is make a loop. There's one thing that you really learn how to do when you're making jewelry, it's make lots of loops. This is not quite straight. I want it as straight as I can get it. So I'm just going to cut off that tip. There we go. So now I'm going to make a nice little loop. Again, it just needs to be big enough to go into, to hold this loop. So I'm just going to slide down about 1/3 of the way down my pliers. Make sure that the wire is not sticking out the back. And just rotate until I have a nice closed loop. Then I'm going to put the tip of my pliers in and just give it a little crimp back so that my loop is right on top of my wire. I'm going to close that loop up. And then I'm going to put my beads on. And I'm going to put on one little bicone, straighten that a little more. One of my cloisonne, this is my 6mm. Put that on, get in there. See, hollow in the center. And it just doesn't like me. I see people in my classes and they just boop, 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 they just put them on, and I'm so envious. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. It's all I'm putting them in not straight. That's what it is. Okay, so there's going to be the pin part, the bottom part of my ear wire. And then what I'm going to do, since my ear wire, this is going to go in, this part is going to hang down the back of my ear, behind my ear. So I want this to be in the front, and this is the back. So I'm going to put a little bend towards the front, or towards in the direction of my loop. So my loop is going this way, and the bend is going to go the same way. So I'm going to put a little bend right there at the top of my beads, going in the same direction as my loop. And then I'm going to take either, it depends, what did I use for this one? You can use an ink pen, which I don't think I brought with me. You can use an ink pen. You can use the large part of your pliers. You can use the handle of your pliers, which might be what I used. Yeah. You can use the handle of your pliers, any cylindrical item. It just depends on the size that you want your ear wire to be. It's really your choice. So I'm going to put my, let's see how I did. Yes. I'm going to make my ear my little loop. So I'm going to put it on whatever item I'm using to make my loop. I'm just going to wrap it around that item. Like so. Didn't come out quite straight. And to do things like this on camera is always a challenge. There we go. Around there. There we go. Let's take a look here. Yeah, there we go. And then what I do is just take my fingers and kind of give it a little slip. just a little curve like this. So I have a little graceful curve. And if I wanted to really be careful about it, I could put the two together. You kind of work it until it matches the other one. So that's very close to the same. There's my ear wire. And then what I want to do is put a little ledge on the bottom. Just a little bend so that it doesn't come out of your ear. There's my ear wire. There they are. My nice decorative earrings, decorative ear wires, and my earring. And now all I need to do is attach. So I can open up either of these. Both of these are, neither of them is closed, permanently closed. So I can just open it up to the side, put my earring on. Now, again, I want to make sure it's going in the right direction. Okay, put my earring on, close it up. Is that the right way? Yes. And I'm going to close up my loop. Make sure it's completely closed. And there are my earrings. Kind of awesome. Let me hang them on something, and you can see. Aren't they great? Ah, so pretty. I love them. Love, love, love. I love cloisonné beads anyway. They're so pretty and decorative and just gorgeous. And I wanted to do something for, this is Asian Heritage Month, and I already did one thing, Asian Indian. And I wanted to do a second one. This is more, I guess, Japanese in feel. And that's it. We've got a beautiful pair of herringbone wrap earrings. We've got a pretty pair of porcelain earrings and a nice rectangle drop. Where's the other one? And we're set. This is really neat because it just gives you a little bit of something extra instead of just a plain ear wire, which is what we usually make. But I wanted to show you how to do that. You know, I'm always dressing up clasps and things like that. Why not an ear wire? I thought that was so pretty. So there we are. There are our earrings. And for those of you who did mention you wanted something a little different in shape, thank you. I really appreciate it. I appreciate the feedback. It's always good to know what people are wanting so that I can do something for specifically for that. So that is our program for today. Trying to get them to lay down, right, so I can have a pretty picture when we go out. And that's our tutorial for the day. For those of you who get the kits, you will get some cloisonne and crystals for this particular one. You'll get your 20 gauge wire and your 24 gauge wire. You'll have 20 gauge wire, and I'm going to put 2 colors in there so that you can have something to work with. I might even put some extra in there. And then you're going to have, for the silver one, you'll have your 20 gauge wire. May as well talk to you this way. You'll have your 20 gauge wire, your porcelain beads, and your 6 millimeter rondelles. So that is what we have for today. I hope you liked it. Let me know what you think. And please remember that now we are doing, for those of you who are in the DeKalb County area, we're having some drawings so that you'll get a little prize if you will post your completed item, your completed creation on the Facebook page, or do I have the Facebook? It's going to be in the notes there what the Facebook page is. I think it's www.facebook.com/DeKalb Library. Yes, that's it. So if you want to post it there, or you can send it to, some people don't do Facebook very much, so don't do a lot of Facebook. So you can also send, email it to me at jewelrygen20@gmail.com. I have so many emails. That's a designated one for this. So, and that's also where you can ask any questions. If you have questions, I get a lot of communication that way. That's how I found out about people wanting different shapes of earrings. So really, jewelrygen20@gmail.com. Send me your comments, your questions, any kind of information that you need. If it's within my power to give it to you, I will. Sometimes I get people asking me, they lost the link and they can't find it. I can get that to you. So please feel free to ask me. I'm here to help teach you different things, and I love to do that. I miss seeing your faces. And this is the only way I can do it. And I get really excited when I get emails from people asking me about questions. Really pathetic, but what can I say? It's been over a year and I am just, So anyway, I hope you like this. Let me know one way or the other. Let us know. And please send in your creations so that you can be entered for a prize. I'm not sure if I want to tell you what the prize is this time. This first prize is. I think I actually gave it away in the comments. It's a design board. Anyway, so please enter if you can and let us know what you think. I will stop rambling now and I'll just say goodbye, and I will see you next time, or I won't see you, but you will see me. And until then, enjoy your weekend and your week, or wherever you are when you're looking at this. And we'll see you then. See you next time. Okay, bye-bye.